You are watching Shunte-Lei Reads with me, Shunte-Lei. And today we are talking about books. But of course we're talking about books. And today we are talking about one particular book. This book is a good one. Never Saw Me Coming by Tanya Smith. The reason why I decided to do just one book for this particular video is because, first of all, I'm going to be spilling some spoilers. And second of all, there's so much detail that is in this book that it deserves a standalone video. So let's get into it. So right off the bat, when you open up the book and you start reading, Tanya is in jail. She's in jail and we see her getting ready to just walk out of this prison. So there's a lot of things that happen in this book. To put it in a very small chunk, Tanya is a twin. She and her sister are very bright, very smart, very beautiful, very intelligent. They come from a very well-off family that has ties to up-and-coming celebrities in the neighborhood, and also some very well business executives that come into play a little bit later into the book. Tanya, between the two twins, in my opinion, is the most sound-minded. Now, granted, she is committing crime, so you're like, well, how sound-minded is she? But she seems to have the most restraint between the two, and she also seems to have a little bit more self-control when it comes to the type of business that they find themselves in. So from a very young age, Tanya displays almost like obsessive sort of qualities, and she has this goal that she wants to meet Michael Jackson. You know what? Eventually, she actually does end up meeting him. But before she actually meets him, she finds her way to his home. Now, how would one find themselves at Michael Jackson's home? And how would one even get directions to his home? And how would one even find his telephone number to call and make phone calls to his home, as well as other family members? Well, you would have to possess a certain quality, a certain talent, a certain proficiency in gaining information, which she possesses. And when she finds this out, she takes full advantage of it. She finds herself having access to large quantities of money. And, like some of us do, we want to be able to share our success with people. And a lot of times we find ourselves in trouble when we decide that we're going to share that wealth with other people. And that's kind of exactly what happens here. So I just want to give you guys one, I guess, really quick story from the book, and I'll let you guys do what you will with the information, and then you can decide whether or not you want to go ahead and get this book, okay? So she's well into doing what she refers to as transactions, okay? Now, she and her sister, like I said, they are very beautiful, and they garner a lot of attention because of the way that they look. And so it's the 80s, and they're going clubbing, she and her sister. Velvet rope, unlocked, they go straight in. They're gorgeous, they're twins, so they get a lot of attention. And she meets a man, and he is popular in his own right, has a really nice car, nice vehicle. And she and this man have like a whirlwind, or just a really sensual relationship, right? He becomes like her first. She essentially just falls in love with him, and she starts to notice some, what we would call red flags, but some behaviors that she wishes wasn't the case. And one of the behaviors is she recognizes that they only go out at night. Now, this is a true story, by the way. This is a true story about how she manages to get away with $40 million from banks. And as you read, you will probably come to the conclusion that I did, that she probably got away with a lot more than just $40 million. But at the very minimum, I guess for what they could account for, she gets away with $40 million. Now she decides that she's gonna get hooked up with this guy. His name is Pugo. They meet at the club and they have, I guess, a very romantic relationship. But like I said, red flag, he only wants to meet up at night. He only wants to go out at night. They don't really have a relationship during the day. And when she starts to question this, he starts to question things about her. And one of the things he starts to question is, where do you get all this money from? And she goes on to say that, reluctantly at first, I have this little thing going on for myself where I'm able to get money. He doesn't believe her. He doesn't believe that she's able to get all of this money, right? So he says, if you're able to get me X, Y, and Z watch, a very expensive watch, then, I'll believe you. First of all, another red flag. Why do I need to prove myself to you? She's very well dressed. And when I say well dressed, it's not just, we're not just talking like off the shelf. We're talking about tailored clothes. We're talking about very just high-end luxury brands. She's not going to the mall to get her clothes. She's going to the shops, the boutiques. She's well dressed head to toe, well accessoried. She's just that girl. She is a socialite, So she goes out, she does her famous transactions, she garners all of this money, and then she purchases this watch and gives it to him. And he's just like, whoa. So then, of course, he has a plan, right? Because every man with newfound money has a plan, right? Their plan is to invest the money into real estate and put the money aside so that they're able to help people in the community. I mean, in a way, they become somewhat of a Robin Hood, or at least that's what she thinks is happening. That they're gonna be Robin Hoods. They're gonna be getting all this money. They're going to set it up, build homes so that people who are less fortunate can have somewhere to go. People who are transitioning from a not so great life to a better life have somewhere to live. It sounds pretty noble. However, that's not the case. That's not what he has in his mind. And she leaves town for a certain amount of time. But when she comes back, she's like, Hugo, babe, my love, let's make good on this plan that we have. And, I want to check our investments. Where's the money? Now, at this point, she's given him over $1 million. And first of all, just to say that with the transactions that she's been doing, that she's made over $1 million, and she's given it to him to entrust him with $1 million, who she's previously had red flags with. He doesn't want to talk about the money. He's just like, you just got back in town. Let's have dinner. Let's light candles. Let's make love. Let's be happy. Let's enjoy this moment. And she's very young. She's very naive. She's in love. And like a woman in love, she ignores the red flags. Until one night, he gets a call. It's late at night. She questions him. Who is that? Who's calling? He's like, oh, just someone at the group home where I work. I'm gonna go and check it out to make sure everything is okay. So he leaves, but before he leaves her with the instruction of, do not answer the phone. Another red flag, which she ignores again, and the phone rings. She answers the phone, and it's a woman. She questions who it is, and the woman hangs up. He comes back. He is steaming mad because he discovers that, yes, Tanya answered the phone, because of course she's going to answer the phone if someone's calling at an indecent hour to see about the man she loves. And he is steaming mad. Another night goes by. He gets another phone call late at night. And this time, instead of telling her not to answer the phone, this man is going to unplug the phone out of the wall and take the phone with him. But that's okay, because guess who has a telephone in her overnight bag? That's right. So when he leaves and he's out of sight, Tanya takes the phone out of her bag, plugs it up, waits a few minutes, and then someone calls. She answers that phone, and then the woman on the other line wants to know who it is. She says, well, this is Pugel's wife. Who is this? Hangs up the phone. Pugel comes back. There are questions. Things need to be answered. What's going on? Come to find out that this man took all of her money, and he did indeed invest in real estate for his several girlfriends, and of which he has children with. So the money that they were going to use to buy a home for them is gone, because he used it to buy homes for his girlfriends and his children. And the money that they were going to use to build this refuge for people in need is gone. And so she's brokenhearted because he lied and he used her, right? And so what does she do? She calls the IRS, and he gets audited. And he's mad, and he, basically threatens her. And that's boyfriend one. But there are more to follow. And each one gets worse, okay? But as she's going through life as a young woman, she ends up going to school. She ends up doing more transactions. And she ends up becoming like very wealthy, very powerful woman with a lot of connections. And she meets a lot of people along the way, including Prince, who is a neighborhood friend of hers from Minneapolis, including Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, including like Griselda, yes, the woman who became famous in the drug cartel. She meets just like a ton of people. She crosses a lot of paths, diverse paths. She's in Hollywood. She's hanging out with stars. She's hanging out with the wealthy. She's hanging out with the privileged. And the feds get involved. And before I close out this video, I will say this about the feds and their investigation. And I think that had it not been for this encounter, she probably would not have garnered over $40 million. And she said, the way she depicts it in this book is she is picked up by the feds, and they ended up letting her go. She breaks down, and I wouldn't say break down because she's relatively confident during the whole interview process, but they're talking about how someone has this plan to take money from all of these banks. How are they doing it? And they're questioning her because she couldn't possibly be the one. She flat out tells them, I'm the one. It's my plan and I'm doing it, which is the truth, right? And they tell her to her face that you can't possibly be the one doing this because you're Negro. And Negroes don't do these sorts of crimes. They steal, they kill, and they do all other atrocities, but they don't do intellectual crimes. They don't do white collar crimes. And this is just fuel for her. She uses it as motivation to garner more than $40 million.